Oh,
All right. We'll just wait. I usually wait 5 minutes to get everybody in here, Brendan, and before we get
yeah,
started. And I'm also going to keep my notes, my highly detailed, in-depth notes to ask you many questions of all things
so,
CRM as we go.
sounds good.
Welcome, Linda. Welcome, Mandy. Welcome, Ivan. We got
Hey,
lots of people
everyone.
checking in there.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. All right, Linda, where are you from, Linda?
Black Lotus.
Oh, okay, awesome. Great to see you out here. How are you?
I'm good. Very good.
Very good. Awesome. We got Ivan here. Michael, where are you from, Michael? Oh, you're on mute. So if you're talking, I can't hear you. All right. All right. So guys, just before we get started, we're going to wait, we usually wait a couple minutes, get everybody, signed in. Probably start 10:03, 10:05. Michael, I saw you unmuted. Where are you from? Still ghost. It's okay.
Michael's keeping us on our toes.
That's it. Okay, I'm letting some more people in here. All right. Collingwood, got Collingwood in the house with Ivan. Welcome, Ivan. All right. Going to be getting started shortly here, guys. Hey, Megan, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Got Sheena from Port Elgin. How you doing, Sheena?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. All right, guys, another couple minutes and then we're going to get started. Just to give everybody a heads up, just some small talk before we get started. Started announcing the Legacy Summit happening in July in Toronto this year, working on securing some big names for seminars. I believe we're having Jeff Chan. He's just committed for the striking seminar. He's going to be hanging out with us all weekend. Jeff Chan of MMA Shredded YouTube superstar. And we're working on our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu superstar right now. And that will be in July. Okay, we're 10:02, so maybe wait another minute or two before we get started. What's up, Joey? Good to see you in here.
What's up, man?
And I'd like to also remind all the legacy clients too of the Matt Chapman Google SEO domination workshop that's happening for free for legacy clients next week. Okay, next Friday, which is going to be awesome for everybody. Matt Chapman is one of our experts that we bring in to help us every quarter. This year, we were working with him every month last year, but we decided to do quarterly workshops this year. All right, guys. So we're 10:03. We're going to get it started. I'd like to welcome Brendan Rice, CEO of Wodify, to our Martial Arts Gym Owners United live stream. How you doing, Brendan?
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Nick. I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Happy to chat with you guys.
Awesome. So, guys, Wodify is on the cutting edge, and today's not just like a Wodify webinar, but Brendan, obviously being the CEO of Wodify, is an expert in the space, and he's going to really help us understand some of the basics of us getting the most out of our CRM. Okay, and Brendan, why don't you start off with what are key features every CRM should be able to offer martial arts schools?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to dive into it. And also, I think we're going to have a pretty kind of casual conversation here. So if anyone has questions as we're going or anything, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll just address them as I see them. But maybe actually a question for the group and just for the answer in the chat, if you don't mind, is let me know if you currently use some sort of software or technology to manage your business. And if so, and if you're open to sharing which one it is. But the reason I ask is I think I sometimes take for granted the fact that every martial arts school owner uses technology to run their business. Some don't. So the first thing in terms of getting the most out of a CRM or any sort of gym technology is that I would highly recommend you are using a base technology. The main reason, aside from just there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is if you ever want to scale and sell your business or step away, if you don't have technology in place, you're really the only person capable of running your business. And so it's really important. It looks like a lot of folks are already using technology. So that's awesome. And I am not going to pretend like I'm an expert in running a martial arts school, but obviously my expertise lies in technology, software selection, how to use technology to improve your fitness business. And Wodify currently is used by about 5,000 gyms around the world. We started in functional fitness and CrossFit. If you're familiar with our name at all, WOD is workout of the day in CrossFit terminology. But we've gotten, over the past 2 years, a lot of jiu-jitsu and martial arts schools using our technology. And I'd be happy to share kind of the story of how that came about and why we were offering something unique in this market. But going back to your question, Nick, so once you've learned that it's important to use technology, the first thing I want to try to kind of talk through is the difference between basic billing and management and how you can really take your business to the next level using technology. So if you're choosing any gym management software, let's call it, that's table stakes, they should be able to run your automated billing, your automated communication, and just manage your students. That, again, is at this point somewhat of a commodity. So once you start using software to run those basics, what you should really think about is how you can leverage technology to improve lead conversion, improve retention, and increase your efficiency as a business owner. That means either saving time or lowering costs.
Watch that.
I thought someone had a question, but they might have just unmuted themselves. So those are the three things that you could literally write down and evaluate how your software today is doing those things: improving lead conversion, improving retention, and increasing your efficiency by lowering costs or saving time. And you should be able to run a calculation that shows your return on investment for any software that you are investing in. I'll show just a quick example of this that I think is really cool from one of our customer. We have a Jiu-Jitsu group chat with our software, and this was posted just earlier this week, showing one of our customers from the Jiu-Jitsu company in Philadelphia. They started adopting our software heavily at the beginning of last year, and you can see this is just their client count over time. So what that's showing is the retention, specifically retention and lead conversion elements of investing in your software, not obviously any of the cost or time savings, but just to illustrate what I thought was an awesome, this gym's doing a lot of stuff really well, but that's an example of how the right adoption and right technology can drive your revenue and your profit. So how does Wodify do that, I guess, differently than a lot of other gym management softwares? It goes back to what I was saying around doing more than just payment processing and member management. So we call ourselves a customer retention platform, and that means we have the full set of CRM capabilities. So you can do payment processing and student management and bill tracking, but we layer in two other things that I think are pretty unique. The first is what we call retention intelligence. So that's a set of features that helps you proactively predict and prevent cancellations. And the second is a digital student experience. And so that is the ability to bring video and digital content into the jiu-jitsu and martial art student experience through both mobile app, video and digital content delivery, and when you're in the actual school itself, having videos playing on TVs and screens. So that was kind of a lot, but I'll pause there for a second and see if Nick, you had any questions or anyone else had any questions on the intro. Oh, Nick, I think you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, I think that there was three main points of like what you're trying to get from your CRM software. Can you just say those 3 points again? I got the Wodify specific, like the retention intelligence and the digital student experience, but I think you said at the beginning, I didn't have my notebook. Oh.
Yeah, so my 3 things, and this is how we think about building our software and our roadmap, but I'd encourage you to think about it as like a software selection checklist. The 3 things are how it's improving your lead conversion rates, improving your retention, and increasing your efficiency. And by efficiency, there's 2 subcategories there: lowering your costs or saving time. So yeah, those are the 3 categories. Obviously, if you're choosing a software, you want to go through a process where you want to make sure, for example, the user interface is really user friendly, and you're probably going to be spending a lot of your time on it during the day, and that there's like mobile apps that are useful, that your students have features that they get access to. But if I were to boil it down to the 3 most important categories that all those kind of bubble up to, those are them.
I have a question, and you might get into this a bit more later. What is like your experience with automations and like still, the human interaction? Because like I'll tell you what I have seen is I have seen that, we have our ads link into the schedule booking. That, goes pretty seamlessly, eliminates one of the human steps, which is saving us time. However, what I have found is in having that set up, that our leads coming in, is not the same as it used to be, kind of like the old school, where the people had to call to book a class, or they had to email, and we got their contact info and we called them again to book a class. We find not as many leads are showing up as they used to on the older method. And I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts of like the automation part and the human part? And like, is there a balance between the two? Like, what are your thoughts from like all the data that you have seen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
great question, and makes a lot of sense. I think we've seen a lot of that too. In general, what I think happens is businesses tend to fall too far on one end of the spectrum, and it sounds like you kind of experienced this firsthand, where they either are too manual and they lose they waste too much time, or they lose opportunities for quick touch points or follow-ups or digital marketing, or, and this is speaking as a technology company that automates things, they try to automate too many things. And so our approach is we've built sophisticated technology that allows you to, I should coin a cool term for this, but something like automated with human intervention. And so what you should think about is is the right times and places for you or your staff to intervene into other automated activities. And it definitely should be early in the process, and it should be very personal. And so I'll give you some examples, but before I even dig into the examples, the first error I see a lot of school owners make is that they try to begin automating or begin even implementing technology in general without having clearly organized and documented business processes. So if you invest in technology and you think just because that you have that technology now, you can flip a bunch of switches and configure some automated emails and it's going to work, you're going to end up probably in a worse place than you were manually, because you're adding complexity on top of disorganization, which is an absolute nightmare. So the first thing you should do before you invest in Wodify or any other software and start turning that on is try to get as organized and documented as possible using, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You could use Google Docs and Google Slides, but take the take your example for leads, you should be able to probably in a visual way with documentation show every way for a lead to enter your business. They could call you, they could submit a lead form, they could, whatever it is, show every way they could enter your business, then show the next steps that happen, then show the different kind of branches or conversion points and the end goal you should make. So you should have these journeys mapped out for both leads and clients and things like daily operating procedures for your staff. And once you have that documentation, the test is go teach a staff member, a mentor perhaps, or even a friend to show that you actually understand it and you've documented it clearly enough so someone else can understand it. Once that's done, then start implementing technology on top of it.
Got it. That was an amazing answer.
And
next,
sorry, really quick, coming back to the human question, because I do think it's interesting to dig into, and I'll tell you our approach. So like I said, I think you need to think about automations with human intervention. And I think it's a very good, anytime you are speaking directly to a potential client or an existing client, I think it's a good use of time. Like, so our approach, for example, with leads is we have workflows, we have pre-built ones that you can configure and customize, but we have workflows that you can turn on that as soon as the lead form is submitted, they can receive a text that looks like it was sent from you. That is an example of an automation I think is appropriate, because if you were doing it manually, you would probably do the same thing every time. Next, we create a task for you or someone on your staff to call that lead immediately. That's an example of a piece of technology that helps organize your work. These tasks are created, you get a push notification, you can click into it and call immediately, but you're still calling. We're not like trying to use an AI voice dialer to call them and answer their questions. We're like, it's a good use of your time. You're really good at your craft. You can explain why people should join your business and the benefits and learn about them. So yeah, that's just one small example.
Yeah, I found our success has come with a blend, that even when they schedule, even when they book, our staff is calling them and saying, hey, we just saw you booked. We just wanted to say we're super excited to meet you, see you on this and this day. We're going to check in with you again on the day of your class. And yeah, we just wanted to introduce ourselves to you and let us know if you have any questions. Like very simple, like touch point, after they have booked their class, so that our staff are following up, building some rapport, and they're going to also follow up with them again on the phone that day to make sure that they're coming in, even with the text and the email as well. That's what we have found for us, which has been like closing the distance. But it was a question that I wanted to ask you because it's been in my mind, and it's a struggle that we have. We went too much one way with the automations, and maybe lazy front desk person sometimes. So like, they weren't calling. They're like, well, the automations got them. But then we saw a decline in the amount of our trials that were coming in, from our leads. Well, that was amazing. Those like 5 key points, the 2 that we're talking about, Wodify. Something else I had a question about, I know you're going to cover today, is passing payment fees on to customers and discussing, kind of the benefits and considerations in doing that. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll back up a little bit here to talk about why we created this feature, and then I can answer how questions work. But for every gym owner on the call, payment processing fees are probably a little bit of a headache for you. And the reason payment processing fees are particularly kind of challenging is a lot of your business expenses are expenses that you pay, like your rent or equipment or even software. They cost a certain amount per month and you pay that. Payment processing fees are this hidden expense that every business kind of has to deal with, but they come out of your top line revenue, which means they're harder to predict than other business expenses. You grow, you sign on a bunch of new students, and this month you did $15,000 in revenue. Next month you do $17,000 in revenue. you're not necessarily gaining $2,000 in profit because all of your other expenses stay the same, but your payment processing fees are variable, and so you have to pay on top of that. And so the other thing is the industry in general is unfortunately a little bit, there's some unnecessary complexity. So sometimes gym owners, I mean, I'd be curious for people on this call, like you should be able to answer very clearly and ideally just the format of a number, what your payment processing fees are. And a lot of people can't do that because some companies will charge variable rates based on cards. Some companies will charge, monthly fees or batch transaction fees or other convoluted stuff. So the first thing is hopefully find a way where you're working with a processor where it's as simple as something like 3% or 2.8% plus 25 cents, whatever it is, just so you have some level of ability to predict and project your own expenses. But anyway, so why did we build this feature? And I'll dig into that a little bit more. But it started with a report that came out last year that we contribute to. Two Brain Business puts it out. It's called The State of the Industry, and it surveys, I think, about 10 or 15,000 fitness businesses across all genres: martial arts, functional fitness, personal training. And we study that report. I study that report as close as I study our own company's business metrics, because gym owner success is directly tied to our success. And so if we're not making businesses more successful, we are failing. And by far the number one reason we lose customers is they go out of business. So we study that report, and one thing that stuck out to me this year is the average gym makes about $12,000 to $13,000 in top line revenue and takes home about $4,000 in profit. And that's not good enough. To be frank, it's just not. And so what we saw is an opportunity to help those businesses through our technology. And so we studied some of our customers that were doing well above those numbers. We studied other industries. And one of the ideas we came up with was the ability to turn on a feature that lets you no longer absorb those processing fees. It lets you add them automatically to client invoices. And what that did overnight is every gym that's turned it on, which is I think over 1,000 now, has immediately added on average around like $600 to $1,200 in profit to their business, because those expenses just disappear. And that, through the lens of going back to the beginning of the average gym making about $4,000 a month, is a 25% increase in profit. So that's why we built it. Again, we studied other industries. We saw things like the ticketing industry. There's a lot of industries that do this. And instead of passing on, a 30% fee, we pass on a very small fee to client invoices. And it lets the gym owners, again, just not pay anything in processing. So that means when you charge $100 for a monthly membership, the dollar amount that hits your bank account is exactly $100. When we launched it, we were honestly a little bit unsure about the reception, but we worked with a few early customers to develop messaging for their clients. So like, how do you tell your gym that they're now going to be paying an extra $2 or $3 on top of their membership? And we learned a lot, but we have really clear email templates now. And we have case studies from our customers that overwhelmingly were just pleasantly surprised with how smooth it went. Gyms that didn't lose any customers. Clients who even came up and were like, hey, I appreciate you're doing this, because you can communicate it in a way where like, hey, if we make more money, we're going to make this a better community to be part of. We're going to be able to invest in better equipment, in better retail, in getting more instructors and students in. So a long-winded answer, but one, I'm obviously a little bit passionate about, like getting more money in the pockets of gym owners. I think creates this better and higher level ecosystem overall. Let me answer your questions, Nick. So you asked what the average you see for processing fees. Yeah, again, it's hard to answer that because a lot of companies don't charge direct, like simply, but the average we see is between 3% and 5%. And then how much you're spending per month. I mean, if you take, let's use a simple example, like $15,000. If you're making $15,000 a month, you have 5% processing fees. That's $750. Most gyms are between the like 400 or 500 and up to like well above 1,000 mark.
Okay.
Megan, yes, do you have a question?
Yeah, so I do. So I don't know which processing system do you guys work with a processing system with Wodify then? And what is that? What we're having with our processing fees, it's not the banking info that's charging a high fee, it's the credit card. So I'm looking at a couple different ways. It's like it's 20 cents if someone pays through their banking information, but the credit card is, again, like you said, anywhere from 2 to 5%. I don't mind eating the cost for a banking fee, and I'm trying to encourage clients to switch over to credit card. But is there a way within Wodify that if they have the option to pay for, say, their banking info, that they won't get charged, to kind of encourage them to switch, or they're going to get charged with the 3 to 5%, whatever that fee is? Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. So just like you said, for our system and most systems, it is just cheaper to process bank accounts than credit cards. So if you're not passing on fees, a great strategy in general is try to get as many people on bank accounts as possible. I've seen a lot of creative things like that. Like you can offer incentives when people sign up, or existing customers, you can offer them free retail or something to add a bank account. The business challenge is it's kind of like lead conversion. Like you're not going to get 100% of people, and you're creating kind of some overhead work for you. And at the end of the day, some people just aren't going to want to add a bank account. And so if you're not passing on fees, Megan, definitely, like, you're thinking about it the right way. Try to get as many people as possible. With the feature that we built, you can still pay via bank account or credit card, but the service fee that's applied is the same across the board. And it makes it so everyone can pay with a credit card if they want, or if some people want to pay with bank account, they can. Most people end up paying with credit card. People kind of like getting credit card points too. So a lot of people like using credit card, but it makes it simple from your end because there's just one setting that you change and the fees are applied automatically.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah, that was great. Great. Like I believe that's like huge and just super cutting edge. Can you give us like, actually, sorry, another thought. I wanted to move on into the Wodify's retention AI. I've been, like, since you sent me the lineup of kind of what you're going to be covering today, this is like the one I'm like dying to hear, because AI is having such an impact for everybody. Can you tell us, how Wodify's retention AI works and its benefit for martial arts schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of features we built that fall in this category of retention AI, and I'll talk about the main one. But the reason why these features are possible is think about for a second how much data your gym management software has on your business and your clients, because it might at first seem like, well, I process my payments through there, and so we can come up with stats around average revenue per gym and things like that. But if you think about it a little deeper, we have, and again, I'll use Wodify as an example. Wodify has about 5,000 gyms around the world that use our software, and we have data on all of those businesses, their financial trends, their retention trends, their client trends, and we have data on millions and millions of students and clients that go to those gyms, and their attendance trends, their demographic trends, their a lot of times performance trends and how they engage with the business. And so we've got a lot of data. Unlike Facebook, we don't sell that data or monetize that data in any way. We take that data and create features and functionality to help businesses run more effectively in just their own kind of business. So that's what our retention features are all about. I can go into a lot of different ways we've utilized it, but we have a we're, I think, the only company in our space with a retention intelligence team. So we have a number of engineers that are data scientists, and their only job's to study our data and create features out of it. So they've created custom dashboards. We have really advanced reporting. But one of the coolest features we created is we call it Wodify Retain. And Retain uses an algorithm, a proprietary algorithm we built, looking at over 1 billion data points of when clients cancel from the businesses they go to. And we studied all the things I mentioned, their attendance trends, who they go to class with, who their instructors are, how long they've been at the business, their age, all this stuff. And we came up with an algorithm to predict when people are going to cancel. And then we tested that algorithm against a bunch of data, and we found it was quite accurate. And so the feature we built called Wodify Retain is available to every customer that uses Wodify. And it's a report that flags customers that are the most likely ones to cancel. And what that does is it gives you the ability to be proactive about client churn at your business. It's kind of like Minority Report. If you ever seen that movie, like, this person's about to commit a murder, go stop them. Because a lot of gyms take this approach with cancellations that's very reactive. They're like, well, if someone submits a cancellation request, let's call them and let's get them back in and let's try to. And it's kind of like way too late at that point. In many cases, sometimes you can save them. But imagine if you knew that a client had kind of been dropping off and was thinking about potentially canceling next month, and you called them then, or you met with them after class then, you said, hey, just how are things going? Let's talk about what you've been, what's been going on the past month, or let's reset on your goals, or, just honestly, just the human check-in makes a huge difference. And so, so our Retain feature just does just that. It predicts the most likely clients to churn, and then we surface that data in a very usable way for gym owners. So there's a report where you can log contacts, like email them or call them or create tasks for your staff to follow up. But we also, one of my favorite little parts of that feature that make it more than just, a report that you have to look at every day, is that we add an alert to their account, to that client's account, saying that they're at risk. And when people come into class, staff can use our app to see who's coming into class, make sure they're signed in. But we have this concept of showing the highest priority students at the top of the sign-in list. And who we show, one of the things we show is who's most likely to churn based on retained data. And so what that does is it creates a really easy way through your day-to-day operations that you're already running, like teaching a class, to go check in with that person while they're in the business, while you're right in front of them. You have their profile up. If you forgot their name, you can remember their name. There's a lot of other little things in there, like you can see their notes, you can see their belt level and stuff. So you can go in and have a meaningful, informed conversation and ideally prevent them from canceling in the future.
I think that's huge. I think that's crazy, and it's huge. That's amazing. I had some questions I put in here. Do you think, can the AI tool, can it help us see who our best clients are and categorize that, and then we could target our marketing to be specifically could it help us see that data and seeing hey, your ideal client is 30 plus, this age, type of thing, trains this amount in this program, or here's your group of ideal clients, this is where you should spend the majority of your marketing dollars. Would this feature help with that, give us that data?
Yeah, you sound like you've been working with our team a little bit. That's actually, so the Retain feature I described was designed for retention, and today it does not do exactly what you're saying. We are working on something that will do a lot closer to what you're saying, but through our custom reporting, you can still get the answers you're looking for. So we've helped customers build reports to answer that question, where they want to look at clients who have been with our business for more than 2 years, who come to classes more than 12 times a month, who you can add a few categories, and then you can look at summarized data based on those, like demographic data, or honestly, the way people use that more often than trying to target ads is creating a really good pool of folks who might refer you other clients. And you can set up some filters where suddenly you get a list of your 25 best clients, and create a program where you do really high touch outreach in whatever method you have to ask them for referrals. So that's one way I've seen it used actually more effectively than targeting, but we are working on some new features as well that'll help you with more precise targeting.
Okay. And you know, another question, and I personally hate questions like this, so I'm gonna ask you this question. I call them like blanket questions, but like, and I know it's not every gym is the same, but I'm sure the data is helping you see and the trigger of the churn before it happens. Like what are some of these things? Like, is it, you know, obviously the person not showing up, or a certain number of days between the person not showing up? Like, what have you seen from the data that you've looked at? Is the, you know, if you were to give us the most common top three flags that people, gym owners, could start looking at now to help prevent, with, you know, say they don't have the software, but based on all the data you've looked at, here are the top three things that we've seen that can help you stop losing a member before you actually get like that cancellation notice. What are, like, it doesn't have to be three, it could be two, you know, but I'm sure you know what they are right off the top of your head.
Yeah, great question. Well, one of the interesting things is the way we built this feature. I will answer your question, but just to give some background on how Retain is so unique and different, is we didn't build this feature to say, okay, now we know, you know, it's important for people to gain a new belt every 6 months. So if they don't, we send you an alert. This feature is built in a way that's dynamic enough where multiple factors have to happen, and it's based on that individual in order for the flag to be created. But like you said, we analyzed, you know, 1 billion data points, and we did find there's some very clear leading indicators. The number one that I would encourage everyone, and you can do this without Wodify, if you're not already doing it, the number one factor is attendance and the frequency in which they're showing up at your business. Intuitively makes a lot of sense, right? And the number we found, the kind of magic number we found, is 11 per month. So again, the asterisk towards all this is every business is a little bit different, but in general, if clients are coming more than 11 times per month, you are much more likely, about, I think it's over 99% actually, to retain those people month to month versus other clients. So the way you could set this up in any software is run a report, look at folks previous month who have come 11 times and above, see how that breaks down with your entire client list, and then the folks who are below that are probably the ones you want to take a more hands-on approach addressing. That's the single biggest factor and the easiest to identify and address in your own business. Once you're looking at your own data too, like, you probably want to use that 11 number as a benchmark, but also put it in the context of your business. If you have 100 students and 50 of them are coming more than 11 times, 50 are coming less, but you have 10 that are coming fewer than 5, those are the 10 to start with. So start with, you know, the most, call it extreme, but you also want to use your software to keep track of your students using notes or tags or whatever other system. And so you can start with like, okay, I think these 10 folks might be at risk. Let me call Jim. You call Jim and he's like, I love this. I'm on track to be a blue belt in a year. I've just been traveling a lot. And you're like, oh, Jim's good. You want to make sure you kind of disposition Jim so you're not bugging him every other week because he hasn't been into class. So that was just a side note there. The other biggest factors might be a little harder to track if you don't have Wodify, but they are coming to class with the same group of peers and the same instructor once you kind of identify someone's favorite instructor. So the reason that's so important is a lot of people join martial arts schools or fitness gyms or other types of businesses. And one of the things they get really connected to is the community and the relationships they develop. And if maybe something changes in their work schedule and suddenly they're going to a class where they don't know anyone anymore, or they don't know the instructor, that is very hard for you. It's very hard for you to know that happened, right? Like for you, it's like, oh yeah, they came to another class. But if like we show on every individual client, we show like frequently attends with and the frequent instructor. And we obviously look for that in the retain triggers as well. But that's one maybe a little bit less obvious, but that one actually makes a significant difference as well.
Amazing. Is there one more you want to add in there, or are those your two? You're like, listen, like here's your two go-tos. Like attendance, I think the 11 per month, and just hearing you say 99%, like that's solved it for me. That's a number I'm adding into my staff training tool, and great advice on starting with the fewer than 5. You know, so whoever's not attending at least 5 classes per month, like we got to get on them. For us, it's, you know, at my school, it's 8. Like we want to see the people there twice a week, you know, at the absolute minimum, every month, you know. So it's good to know that like my thinking is in line with that. The instructors, I've seen that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the other category, which gets much more into our unique differentiator as a technology. The other factor is the accountability, how they're engaging with the accountability tools you have. So for us, those accountability tools are the digital student experience that you create for your students. In fitness, it's digital workouts and performance tracking. In martial arts, it's digital progression tracking and the ability to engage with and consume digital media. So we give martial arts schools the opportunity to program curriculum and input videos into our system. And we surface those videos and curriculum both on demand and per day for the instruction in the mobile app and in the gym. So I can show you just some quick kind of visual examples of what that looks like. I said I didn't have a deck, but I'll just pull up this other deck we have. So can you see this okay?
Yeah.
So like this is what our system looks like, where you can enter the curriculum for the day. Here's another example. We have a partnership with BJJ Flowcharts. We have some of that you get access to for free, automatically implemented. And then here's an example of what it looks like in the gym. So you have students who are on the mat. And I'll give, I mean, you guys have seen us give entire presentations on this. I'll give the cliff notes. We developed this functionality because to help specifically improve retention, because there's a problem in jiu-jitsu where students aren't prepared for class when they walk in. They're super intimidated when, especially beginners, when instructors do some quick demos and then take break, and there's no way for them to track and stay accountable for their progress afterwards. So our digital student experience touches on all 3 of those things by providing video and educational content in the app and in the gym, like you can see here. And we kind of designed it with beginners in mind, but we've seen everyone from the highest level professionals. We did a seminar with Buchecha at IBJJF, and he was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Makes me such a better instructor, to white belts who come in and they're like, oh my God, finally I can like look at the video and remember what the instructor just told me to do. And so just to round that out, you ask kind of what the other factors for attention. Every martial arts school that we've seen adopt that digital student experience is benchmarking more than double the industry average length of engagement, which is the most common kind of measure of retention. So instead of 8 or 9 months, I think they're trending at over 20 months right now. So again, obviously there's a lot of things those businesses are doing well, not just Wodify, but we measure, you know, our customers when they sign up and how they're doing, and that's a huge factor. Yeah, Sam, did you have a question?
Well, I just had more of a comment. So this is something like, for example, in our instructors course that we talk about the middle 80. So the first 10 are getting all of the instructors' attention by the nature of them being new and being totally clueless at how to do the technique or whatever. And then the other 10 are just fixtures. They're there all the time. So they get attention because they're fixtures of the gym. The middle 80, they're the ones that get neglected the most. And so with your retain, you're going to make sure those people don't fall through the cracks, but also the visual digital experience. Because we talk about too, like you can't spend all of your time in a class with the person that's not getting it. Like you have to move around and you have to help everybody. Well, this is a great way to do that. So it kind of is complementary to what legacy we teach our clients to do as well, because that's such a huge aspect of retention. Comment.
Yeah, great point.
All right. So, yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for that. I definitely say like the key point of like the 11 plus per month was a huge takeaway. And also hearing, you know, and I think we all know this, and it's a struggle of gym owners as well, especially gym owners who have gone to the level and then maybe want to step back a little bit. You know, so in hearing that you were saying that coming to a class with same group of peers and instructors, and it's funny enough, I had a discussion with a student last night who their like favorite training partner no longer trained there, and that like was discouraging for them. And you know, you just reiterated that point today, and I know that's only one person, but it's great to hear, you know, that these things are consistent across the board for every martial arts school. And thanks for sharing, you know, the other point of, you know, and it seems like it's common sense, but it's not. It's like the more energy, you know, we have a saying like the more energy you put into them, and if all the things are aligned, the greater the overlap it creates with the student and the school. And your digital platform doubling the school retention, like what I have seen in gyms' journeys, once they've understood like the business side of things, and they understand how to fill their gym. So they understand who they are, what they're offering, who they're catering to, then they start marketing to those people, filling their programs, ramming their school, but then there's the churn, right? And just as knowing that just this one thing could double the school's retention, I think is massive. So next, I had a question. You know, I think one of the amazing things that you guys are doing right now as well, on top of all the other things, is you've introduced a free version of Wodify. We were talking a little bit about it before the webinar started. And, you know, why don't you give us like the overview and features and benefits of the free version, and, you know, kind of like the story of it, how it came about first, like how did this come and why? You know, you're sharing it with us, but I think it's like really cool for everybody else to hear as well. And the overview of the features and benefits of the free version.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we launched at the beginning of this year, and I've been super excited about it and the progress it's made. So excited to chat about it. It really ties into a lot of the conversation we were having around passing on processing fees and studying the average gym metrics. And again, our mindset going into this year after that report was, how can we make gyms more profitable, more efficient, in general, kind of build up the entire ecosystem. And so we launched the passing on processing fees feature mid last year. And so what that did is it reduced gym owners' processing fees cost to zero and added a little bit of a service fee for client transactions. And what we saw was zero churn, positive feedback overall, tons of adoption. So that gave us the idea to take it one step further in terms of that pricing model. There were two other things that happened as we kind of ideated on this feature. One is that we studied other industries. In the fitness industry, this doesn't really exist, but you think about a lot of other industries, this model of who pays for the software often falls on the end consumer, not the business owner. So like last summer, I, like maybe a lot of other people, unfortunately had to go through the process of buying Taylor Swift tickets. Bought a Taylor Swift ticket for like $300 and paid like $600 to Ticketmaster because of all their fees. So there are industries that have kind of taken advantage of this and taken it way too far, and people hate that. But this idea of changing the cost dynamic and the pricing dynamic is a very proven practice. And so again, we took the idea of, wow, passing on processing fees worked really well. We took this concept of, you can change the dynamic of who is absorbing the cost of the software. And the last thing we saw is Wodify's been around for a little over 10 years. So if you think about the software, our actual platform, we have about 50 engineers working on it. We've been around for about 10 years. We have spent tens and tens of millions of dollars building our software. So we have a piece of software that's incredibly robust and powerful. And our goal is to get it in the hands of as many gym owners as possible, even if you're just starting your school. But the challenge is it's hard to charge, $20 a month for something that's a $50 million piece of software. And so what we've done with this free plan, combining all of that, is we've given any gym owner unlimited access. We call it free unlimited because you get every single feature we built. You get retain, you get all the features for the digital student experience, you get our most advanced features on our highest paid plan, and you get unlimited users, staff, clients. There's no restrictions on the software at all. And we just pass on a standard service fee of about 7% to all client transactions. And so what that does is allows us to continue operating as a business and monetize our software. And it allows any gym owner to get that robust software platform for free. And the processing fees and everything is just completely baked into to the model. So you're paying $0 for software, $0 for processing fees. We've had, again, we launched at the beginning of this year. So far, the adoption has been the same feedback we heard from the passing on processing fees. Gym owners love it. It's a really good, for new gyms, it's a great opportunity to start with a really powerful piece of software. For existing gyms, if you switch to Wodify, it's a natural way to explain to your student base why there's a new charge on their monthly invoice. You could just say, like, we're investing in this new technology. You get a digital student experience, you get the mobile. Like a lot of times I talk to customers who aren't using Wodify and their students don't even know what software they're using. That's a missed opportunity. If you talk to customers that use Wodify, their students love using Wodify because it's this tool they have to not only consume the digital content, but we have in-app chat. You can chat with your coaches, with your classes, with your friends. We have the ability to see who else attended the class. There's a lot of other features built into it, but yeah, so free unlimited just rolled out in January. It's available for everyone. You get unlimited access to everything. The only restriction on it is just this ramp up period. You have 90 days, then you have to be processing, I think it's $2,000 a month, but most, pretty much any business is past that threshold. We just needed something so like people didn't, sign up and just use it for like personal use. But yeah, that's the free plan. I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
So yeah, that's just putting this out there, not, just saying, and more so for myself, but like, this would be a great way if I wanted to switch to Wodify. I could just start signing people up on the free version until I get everybody migrated, absolutely over, and that was a question that I put in the chat there. Does anybody else have any questions about that? Sam had put in the chat that's like adding, only around $9 per month to the member, at a $64.99 biweekly membership, so it's not, it's not a crazy amount as well. But does anybody else have any other questions around the free Wodify version before we move into the Q&A for the end? No, we're good. All right. Okay, so guys, let's open the floor for question and answer. And guys, you have a CRM expert here, so it doesn't just have to be about Wodify. It can be about anything regarding your CRM. I'll kick it off with the first question. Give me your top 3 metrics, 5 if you want, okay, for gyms. Top 5 metrics. Every gym needs to monitor. Like I have mine, which I think are top 5, but from your perspective, Brendan, what are the top 5? Or if the list is longer and you're like, hey, listen, you're a gym owner, you got to be tracking this. Like, doesn't matter what CRM, but you got to be tracking this. And I would love to hear your list of must track metrics for a school.
Yeah, great question. I try to keep it I try to measure the smallest number possible. So you could probably come up with 10 important metrics, but I try to keep it to, okay, here's a few, and if you focus on these, the rest are going to move. But the first one, which you can't even measure in Wodify or a lot of other CRMs, but is the most important, is profitability. So you obviously need expenses for that. So you're probably using QuickBooks or some accounting software, but I'm shocked that that one does not come out of more of these, industry experts' mouths, because without profit, you cannot sustainably operate your business. It sounds super obvious, but like that's the number one. And it should be it should be something you look at every single month. So the first one is profit. Getting into more of the business health side, some of the things we talked about. Obviously, I'm going to say retention. There's a few different ways to measure it. Length of engagement is a really common one, and it's one we have a pre-built report around. So length of engagement is the average time a client stays at your business. The industry average is around 8 or 9 months. You should be benchmarking, hopefully, around 15 to 20 months is kind of a healthy benchmark there. Another way to look at retention that a lot of customers use is your monthly churn. So what % of your clients cancel each month? That should be in the low single digits. The third one is average revenue per client. And so that one kind of goes hand in hand with the fourth one, which is just top line revenue. But you want to know, and client count. I guess I just think about it as one metric. How many clients do you have? How much money do you make? And therefore, what's the average revenue per client? And that lets you know, from a revenue standpoint, which levers you need to move. You either have a really healthy average revenue per client and you need to get more clients, or maybe not as healthy of a revenue per client and you need to increase that without even increasing clients. And you can hit your revenue goals, based on that. So that would be the third or the fourth one. And then the last one kind of goes into the leading indicator for churn, like I said, which is just your attendance trends. So I would look at your average revenue or average attendance per client. I would look at things like, your number of clients that are attending fewer than 11 times per month. But you want to come up with some key indicator so and you align your staff around this goal of increasing attendance. Again, I think those metrics have a lot of sub-metrics and initiatives that bubble up to them. But once you start looking at a dashboard with 20 reports on it, it all gets diluted and it's really hard to focus on anything. And so for each of those, you can come up with initiatives, a lot of initiatives around each of them, like doing student check-ins, doing, working on your class consistency and your instructor training, working on your pricing model and how to do upsells and stuff like that. But from just a metric standpoint, I would go with those.
Okay, so profitability, which is amazing, was not what I was expecting, but that is amazing, great point. Retention of your students, so length of engagement, average revenue per client, monthly revenue per client, and lastly would be your attendance trends. Those are like your top. These are your top 5. You're like, you know what? If you're not tracking this, track these things. This is what we've seen, and this is what's going to give you the data that you need to succeed. Correct?
Yeah. And just to add to it, I think I've been asked that question a decent amount, and I hear it talked about a lot. I think the thing to add on top of it is it's not just tracking it from a standpoint of like, okay, I set up a report. It's what you do with the data. And so I'll give you an example of how we do this in our business. We have weekly meetings with departments where we have their top 5 metrics, say, and every week people come and report the numbers, and then we discuss the trends and we drive specific action items and initiatives out of those trends. So if all you're doing is looking at the numbers and either saying, oh shoot, they didn't go up, or awesome, we're killing it, and not having meaningful discussions and involving your staff in those discussions and letting them see the numbers, then you're not going to see any improvement. I had one gym owner I was talking to the other day who shared with me that they had been looking at the right metrics for a very long time. And then the only change they made is they started sharing all of those metrics in their staff meetings. And they were like shocked. They were like, I thought I just had to come up with the initiatives to move the numbers. I started sharing the numbers with the staff. I didn't even have the answers. I was just like, hey guys, here's what's important to our business. And the staff suddenly changed their behavior and came up with ideas because they realized like, oh wait, that's what we're trying to do. I have some ideas. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but it's not just what you're tracking, it's how you're using it.
Sam has a question.
Yeah, well, I have a question, but I also want to add on to that a little bit, just because we've had some clients that have a little bit of apprehension about sharing the metrics. We really encourage them to, and that's a big reason why, because they have to understand that, hey, that this is part of the mission here. This is what we're doing, and when you ask them to do something, it's not just because they're trying to make their life hard. But, yeah, that's really helped for those of our clients that have done that. So that just further speaks to that. But my question is, just your experience with seeing just implementation and switching from one CRM to the other, because that is the biggest pain point for people, because they're busy, they're business owners, and it's just, not everyone loves technology, and it just can be a pain. And then also you're worried about losing members, because anytime you have to re-sign people up or re-get their credit card, it's a huge pain in the ass. So what's the support like with switching to Wodify? Is there an option, like Nick said, to like do it hybrid for a little bit until you get everybody moved over, like switch the free version of Wodify and then slowly migrate? Like, what's your experience with that? And like, what on average, how long does it take to move from one to the other?
Yeah, great question. And you're right. I think if you're evaluating softwares and they tell you the switching process is easy, run. Because, and I mean, we maybe sugarcoat it with marketing a little bit, but it is there is definitely a serious switching cost with any business system that's sorry, my Siri just went off. With any business system that's so ingrained with payment processing, with all of your client data, with your class schedule, it's going to be a challenge to switch. So that goes back to the beginning, like, why is it worth the switch? Well, if you can find a piece of software that's going to increase your retention, increase your lead conversion, save you time and money, and they're going to be a core part of your business for the next 10 plus years, that's why it's worth switching. So yeah, it's a huge pain to switch, but it's also an opportunity. So how do we help? We've transitioned thousands of customers from every name at the beginning of this webinar people put on their list, and a lot of other software companies. Our approach is we have a dedicated onboarding team. They've seen all the companies. They know kind of what needs to happen. And we start with just a consultation call to make a tailored plan for every customer. So we don't have a one size fits all approach, and it's not a like, all right, next week, you're going to run your billing out of Wodify. We just learn, like, okay, how are you running your business? Who's going to be involved in this transition process? We have some software tools that make the transition a lot easier, with imports and even credit card imports and matching data, and then some like ways to see who you need to follow up with. But the short answer to your question is you will get a dedicated onboarding agent. You will know his or her name, and they will be with you every step of the way. And we have a Slack channel where we ask everyone after they switch, how was that experience? And our average rating is like 4.8 or 9 out of 5. So even though it's a huge pain, our team really makes it as seamless as possible. And then, yeah, I mean, we just like, the average time is a challenging one to answer. For new gyms, it's obviously like you can get set up pretty quickly. Some gyms, it's kind of a self-imposed timeline. We recommend somewhere between 2 or 4 weeks if you can really stay on top of it and just set it up for a clean billing cycle. But some gyms, it takes as many as 3 months or even longer than that. But the sooner you do it, they'll kind of rip the Band-Aid off approach, the better. We were just, and just to give anyone out there maybe some confidence, like, we've transitioned pretty big gyms. I was just out in January at Extreme Couture MMA in Vegas. They're a huge gym. They switched to Wodify, and they have a ton of clients, and it's one of those, they got their staff bought in. They're like, listen, guys, there's going to be some people we need to recollect from. Here's the new system. We're going to do a staff training. We're going to do a client. Once you get through all that, the light at the end of the tunnel is every single day you're using software that makes your life easier and your business better.
That's awesome. Thanks, Brendan. If people want to reach out to you, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so the best way, if you're interested in kind of learning more about Wodify, you can just go to and talking to someone on our team about your business. You can just go to wodify.com, schedule some time for a demo. Our sales process is very consultative and low pressure. So we just learn about your business. We go more in depth around some of the stuff I talked about. And we have special offers for martial arts schools right now, especially legacy martial arts schools. So definitely get in touch with us. And then if you have questions for me, my email is just brendan@wodify.com. I'm not super hard to find. So if you have anything you want to follow up with me about, feel free to reach out directly.
Brendan, thank you so much for spending the hour today. Tons of like amazing knowledge for any gym owner, regardless of like using Wodify or not. I know I got some really valuable gems here. And guys, like if you're looking for a CRM to switch to, Wodify is definitely probably the best choice. Like just the fact of increasing the retention, like doubling the retention, length of engagement of students is absolutely amazing. And to be honest, like once you fill your gym, your next struggle is always that. It's always retention. That is like the next hurdle that we all have. So guys, check out Brendan, check out Wodify. Thank you so much, Brendan. It was an amazing and super educational webinar today. And I hope everyone got as much out of it as I did. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Brendan.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.